So, EVs and ground clearance are usually something that do not go hand in hand at all. EVs have good center of gravity because they have their heavy battery packs underneath the car, but that's also the caveat for ground clearance in a country like Nepal and even in the capital city like Kathmandu, where roads are not the best and bumpy, and our highways also aren't the smoothest. With all these road expansions happening right now, especially, we typically search for a car with about 180 of ground clearance as our benchmark for a good clearance car. And today I have a car with me that has 190 of ground clearance. So, yep, it's the Series 3 EV, and it's an SUV on top of that. So great in utility, good space, and honestly, straight off the bat, my first impressions is that this car is quite comfortable and pretty swanky on the inside. I just wanted to talk to you a bit about the Series 3 battery. It's a 52.7 kilowatt hour battery. It's called a lithium ternary battery, and I know you've heard quite a lot of different terms: NMCs, lithium iron phosphates in the Series Mini EV, blade batteries, and BYDs, but this one is another lithium polymer battery. And you know how there are different elements in these batteries? Well, basically, in this battery, the cathode is made out of manganese, cobalt, nickel, or aluminum, different polymers of that. And it basically is good in discharging and charging and has a decent cycle count when it comes to battery life. Realistically, real world range wise, I'm expecting it to be somewhere in between 300 to 350, depending on your driving habits and preferences, AC habits and preferences, also Kathmandu roads that inundate up and down. As for the charging, here is your AC charger, and here is your DC plug-in outlet. And you can basically charge this in 3 ways. The first way is via a 3.3 kilowatt outlet, where this is what the company gives you. You plug this into the car and then you plug this in to a wall socket. Because this only does about 2 to 3 kilowatts an hour, you can expect this to take anywhere between 14-15 hours to fill up the entire battery. You can also install, the car does accept in this port a fast AC charger of up to 6.6 kilowatts per hour, which will reduce the charge time to about 7-8 hours. And the car is a 400 volt architecture. That's what it's built on. And if you've been watching my videos, you know the higher the voltage architecture system, the faster it can charge. And the Series 3 can charge in about 147 kilowatts fast DC charging. Our NEA DC chargers can give a max output of about 120. So theoretically, this car does have a 20 to 80% time of just 30 minutes. And a full charge will take about 45 minutes to an hour. But unfortunately, Nepal's fastest charger is 120 kilowatts. And that too, the thing about NEA DC chargers are, if there are 2 cars plugged into a DC charger, what it'll do is it'll probably split the 120 kilowatts between the 2 cars, not equally, but by the amount of load each car can take in. Series 3 engine is a permanent magnet synchronous motor. It's the same sort of motor that you find in most EVs and can produce a peak power of 99 kilowatts and up to 300 newton meters of torque. It's about 132 horsepower if you convert it. And a great thing about this company is that it offers 8 years warranty on not just the battery pack underneath the car, but also the motor. The engine layout looks to be like a typical engine, EV engine. This most likely is the mini converter, as I call it, converts like AC to DC. Your charging current in the electric wires, the mains, it's all AC current, but the battery down there, the motor uses DC, and so this kind of changes one current to the other. You have some hydraulic fluids in here and coolants to keep the battery cool. Inside you have one big radiator. Again, it's an EV, there's no engine intake, air intake, but for the AC compressor and a bit of cooling inside the car. What's also really cool is you can see the crash support beams right there. You do have a 12-volt battery, and I guess, yeah, this is the fuse box. However, it does look like there's a bit of a missed opportunity here. There's a lot of like open space here, and you could easily fit in a Frunk, so maybe some aftermarket product would come in someday. So let's talk about exteriors on this car. It's an SUV, and it's built with practicality in mind. So it's got these rugged, muscular lines at the front as well as at the back. Starting from the front though, it's an EV car, and so there is no front grille, but you do have a vent down here for AC intake, the fan I showed you inside. And just keep in mind how many cameras you'll see on this car. There's one at the front here. The front of the car also has 2 parking sensors on either side of the bumper. On the side, you will see the LED lights as well as daytime running lights. And you'll see more lights down here, which are the daytime running lights. The side indicators are also LED on this car. The mirrors, which open and close automatically, are also LED. There's a turn indicator here, followed by another camera here. Long, swoopy lines on the side. Charger port down here. The rear parking sensors are down here. And at the back, you have this sort of animated dynamic side light. The reverse lights, while they are at the bottom, the side lights are at the top, so it's perfectly at the eye level. You also have a rear wiper, and you have a shark fin antenna on the top. This is also an LED light, a light bar at the top. And coming to the wheels of this car, it's an 18-inch alloy wheel. It's got decent sized sidewalls, but even if they are on the thinner side, the independent suspension system at the back really does a good job of soaking in. It's got disc brakes at the back, and it's got disc brakes at the front. I really found this series logo that's found on both the front and the back of the car, all 4 rims, to be quite a nice touch. And here's a fun fact about this car's windows. This is black tinted, this is green tinted. Car manufacturers these days have a green front tint because the driver sits there, and the green tint is supposedly supposed to reduce glare, headlight glare in the night, and the intensity of sunlight during the day to keep the cabin cool. The rear seat is tinted black, more for privacy reasons and for cooling reasons. So let's start with the driver's seat. It's leatherette materials on soft touch, really soft touch, bit of hard plastics. And as for a bottle, you can actually fit in an entirely big bottle here. So as for the rest of the door, you have one touch windows for all of it, a locking button basically, and then unlock and lock. You have a speaker here, and then you have two tweeters here. This on the right side of the car is pretty cool. You can adjust the height, the height as in the throw angle of your headlights, which something is really important in Kathmandu. This is hill descent control, this lane departure warning, and this is of course traction control settings here. This is to close and open your mirrors, and then you select which side you want to adjust your mirrors through these toggles here. Your seat also comes with 6-way adjustment, your driver's seat. So this is for tilting the recline angle front and back. The seat moves front and back, and it also moves down and up. It's all motorized, and there's also a dead pedal, which I really like about this car. As for the steering column, there is a hook lock here, and you can take it up and down. There is a cubby down here. Your center console does have 2 bottle holders. I've kept the keys for now, but they can't fit the big bottles, but smaller bottles will do fine. There's also a center armrest with a cubby in the middle, and so that is very convenient. It's quite large too. You can fit a bottle in easily. As for the base layout in the middle, you have a charger here, as you can see, a wireless charger. And it's quite smart that they gave this. It's like a rubber synthetic mat with a bit of glue on it, and it does support Qi charging. Otherwise, your cigarette lighter outlet is here, and there are 2 USB outlets on that side. Now, coming on to the buttons, of course, this is the horn. On the left, you have your menu navigation on the driver's display. Toggle through. The right side is your pickup call, and then mode of like input, as well as a mute, your volume rockers. We'll go more on the driver's display and the infotainment in another video, but just going over the buttons right now, you have your push to start at the back here, and then on your left hand side, this is for your rear wiper at the back of the car, and then you have basically the speed toggle of your wipers at the front of the car. Like, you can also just set into auto, which I just did right now. And then on the right hand side, you have your indicator and your fog lights. You also have an auto for headlamps here, your headlights, your parking lights, and then your headlamps will be turned on here. And you can also use your high beam on and off. As for the center console, you have a center crystalline gear knob with R, neutral, and drive. So one push forward, you have a 360-degree camera, and the camera is quite good. You can see the front, you can see the back, you can see the left side, and you can see the right side. So I honestly quite like it. Also, these lines are adaptive, and so depending on the steering angle, it'll also project your alignment and show just about where your car is heading towards. I'll leave it center aligned for now, and I will bring the car back to neutral. It's a dedicated 360 button here, so if you're on the go and you need a quick navigation, you can just tap that and it will open up. So it's very helpful in those gullies of Kathmandu. Your drive mode selector is on the right, and the car will toggle between sport, normal, and eco. Your temperature control for the AC is on the right, and so without even looking at the center console screen, you can quickly adjust the temperature up and down. You have your auto hold button here, which will be activated when your seatbelts are in and in drive mode. Your electronic parking brake, your park mode is a button down here. And then on your left hand side are more AC HVAC controls. Basically, your fan speed can be toggled from here. And then you have basically where you want your air coming out of, and then you have an auto mode, and you can turn off the AC from here as well. Coming into the center console, now towards the dashboard, this is your parking emergency hazard lights. You have a home button to bring you back to the home screen. You have a back button. You have your volume here. You also have your volume rockers here. And you have your navigation buttons here, your FM buttons here, your telephone button here in case you want to make a call after you connect your Bluetooth. And you have a display button just to turn it off. Now moving to the passenger side, the premium cabin feeling goes around here as well. Like, this is leather, soft touch material here. Here too, like, this is foamy. This is hard plastic. Again, a big bottle holder here, and you can fit in other things here. One touch windows for the passenger side as well. Something that this car has not cut costs on is a electronic adjustable front passenger seat as well, which also has a 6-way adjustment, front, back, up and down as you just saw, and then the angle of the seat can be changed. And then you have a glove box. It's an adequate size glove box. The premium cabin feeling really continues on this side as well. Like, they did not have to put this sort of leather and stitching feeling on this side too. Tweeter here, AC vent that opens and closes here. As for the ceiling of the car, you have your buttons to open the sunroof here. And then you have a shades holder here, as well as 2 visors with a vanity mirror and an inbuilt mirror here. That's pretty cool. And you have a anti-glare rear view mirror, but you have to turn it on. And coming to the back of the car, it's again really nice soft touch materials here. A 1-touch power window. How awesome is that? And then a big bottle chest for the back. I mean, it does fit, but if the bottle were shorter, it would definitely fit. Smaller bottles, super easy. Coming into the rear cabin space, it's got a decent size legroom here. Like, there's also a small compartment at the back of the seat where you can slide in your phone. There are 2 AC vents for the back seat, and they have given you a USB-A charge outlet at the back. There's also a center armrest, which if you pull out, it won't fit in a big bottle, but again, smaller bottle size, your coffee, Coke cans will fit in just fine at the back. As for spacing, this is how it looks. There is decent headroom because of the body shape. Legroom wise too, I also have good footwell space. Some electric cars don't have this space underneath here, so I'm glad that there is some footwell space somehow molded into this cabin. Your lights are up here, one on this side, one on this side, and you have a holder up at the top. What I also wanted to point out in this car though was, I know it's a dark black cabin interior, but you also get this cabin in like a brown beige leather color, if that's more of your preference, though that will take more maintaining. But the upside to all of this is that the designers at Series have allowed so much of like exterior light to come in. So for example, like pretty decently large size windows on all sides, but this really large panoramic sunroof on the top that opens up all the way back here. And there's also these side tiny holes on the C-pillars at the back. You usually don't see this in many cars, but this really adds in more light even from the back. And so you really feel like you're in a very spacious, very tall, but like pretty adequately relaxed sort of cabin. And the car does come with ISOFIX points at the rear seats on this side and on that side. It's quite a spacious boot at the back. The Series 3 provides a 525-liter boot space in this normal arrangement, and it's a fun tip that there's a manually turn on and turn off light here, and underneath we actually have a whole spare tire, like no tire kit, no tire repair kit, but an entire spare tire. It's a 17-inch tire. For countries like Nepal where the roads are a bit bumpy and unpredictable, this is definitely a pro on an EV, since most EVs these days don't come without this. This is what a normal office backpack looks like. Still plenty of room for the rest of your cargo. You can also fold down these seats in a 60-40 ratio and increase your boot space to about 800 liters. As you can see, it's not a completely flat loading bed, but you can definitely fit in quite a number of suitcases and large containers back here. Series is a subsidiary branch of the parent company DFSK. So a pretty cool safety feature I noticed was that this car actually has lights, reflectors that turn on there. So at night, if you just so happen to open the door, your front door, it doesn't have it at the back, this will reflect light and let oncomers know that the door is open. I am really impressed by the suspension on this car. I wasn't plowing the car, but I was putting the car through some rather big potholes, and the suspension does a really good job of like soaking in these Kathmandu bumps and potholes. This is so plush for like such a tall SUV. And again, with that added benefit of 190 mm of ground clearance, I really like it. I don't know what the suspension are. I think it's a McPherson strut on the front axles and an independent system on the rear, but it does a good job of like soaking things in without too much of body roll. You can definitely not be too impacted by it. Like this right here, there was a bit of a road obstruction, which I definitely would have been a bit more conscious and nervous to like go through in other EVs. It's a 99 kilowatt motor, so I don't have any doubts in terms of whether it can pull on an uphill and of its auto hold capabilities. Press the brake. I am on auto hold, right foot is here, and again, foot is on the accelerator. And the car pulls. No drama. This car also has a hill descent control, which I have been using. It makes a bit of a funny sound, but like I just went down that decline without having my foot on the brake at all. The driving dynamics of this car are pretty smooth, and a 99 kilowatt motor with like 300 newton meters of torque, you can really feel how zippy and powerful it is. Like, I'm in eco mode and a foot down and you're already at 50 from like 2030. Even in eco mode, you put your foot down, it's enough of torque, like just 40-50% foot down to like make quick zippy overtakes in city traffic. And the drive mode is down here, so it's quite simple. You can filter between eco, normal, and sport. And right now in sports mode, foot down, and the torque is a lot more aggressive. That was a keep safe distance. The car has a lot of like ADAS beeps and bongs. There are options of turning it off. And so sports mode, more than enough powerful. Like, the motor is good enough that you do get pushed back into your seat with your foot on the accelerator. Something else I noticed was that the torque calibration on this car is pretty good as well. If you're rolling right now and you put your foot on the floor like what I just did, there isn't any wheel spin. But because this is a front wheel drive car, there is a bit of a torque pull, and it's just something that when there's a lot of torque in these front wheel drive cars, and happens in EVs because you have instant torque, the steering wheel there's a tendency of the steering wheel to kind of deviate towards one side. It's called torque steering. But other than that, as long as you have a firm hold of your steering wheel, even when you put your foot down, it's very well manageable. And so I just hit 70 from like nothing. The car does have a top speed of 160 kilometers per hour, and a 0 to 100 kph is done in under 9 seconds. I think the clean time is 8.9 seconds. So 0 to 50 on ring road will definitely happen in a jiffy, no doubt. Another thing that I wanted to mention about the driving experience of this vehicle is at speeds, like I'm going around 50-60 at the moment, the brakes are also quite decent. Like, it's a very firm feeling, and because it's 4-disc brakes, you have a good amount of confidence when it comes to like braking hard. There's also ABS and traction control and everything embedded in the software that'll take care of wheel spin and turnings in like dire situations. And the car does not feel too jittery when you like push hard on the brakes. What I wanted to explain was regen, even in the strongest, is pretty mild in this car. Like, it is regenerating. There is a negative 13% in the power sign. Ooh, a Palisade. But it's nothing too aggressive that it'll lurch you forward like in some cars. What I do miss about regen though are like paddle shifters at the back here, because it really makes it easy just to change your regen modes from here rather than in the menu. It's inside the vehicle settings that I need to like toggle into to get into the actual regen. And so I think it would have been better if this paddle shifter or some form of button down here would have been an option. So I'm dropping this car back off at the series workshop, and at the end of my test drive day, I've honestly become quite a fan of this car. I came in not expecting anything, but the thing is, I am now leaving going pretty much in awe of like what this car provides at this price point. It's not the most expensive EV out there in the market right now. It's also not the cheapest. It's mid-tier price, but for this SUV segment, great clearance. Battery packs underneath, no brainer on that. Good space, both in the front seats as well as the back seats. No compromise there. Boot space wise, it's pretty decent, adequate for a small nuclear family, should be good enough. 350 range, that's great, another plus point. And the biggest thing about me though is it's just so swanky. I know I've been using this a lot, but the car is so swanky. It provides so many tech features on the inside, so many that I won't even be using most of them, honestly. From seat heaters to 360 cameras, ADAS, safety features, you name it. But above all, it's the driving experience that really took me by surprise, honestly. Like, I know a lot of you petrol heads go like, come on, there's no gear shift, there's no clutch, like how can you say the driving pleasure in an EV is nice? But come test it out, honestly. It's swift, it's zippy, it's quick. The suspension's really nicely calibrated, stiff enough that there's no body roll in like higher speeds above 60, 70, but also not hard enough that, you know, this is Kathmandu and all the roads are bumpy like this, even if they're pitched. And so there's this really nice blend in this car that coupled, like everything combined, they really complement each other, and so driving really feels effortless and nice. Look forward to seeing more of this in the Kathmandu traffic. Anyway, let me know what you thought about this review and this car. If you have any questions, comments, just drop me a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time.